Well, what do we have today?
Oh, well, I don't know about the exercise today.
Yeah.
So today, guys, we did Strong Dads, but we did Strong Dads at the gym on our Saturday morning workout. And so we're starting the month with push-ups.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
so we did how many push-ups we could do in 2 minutes,
Yeah,
right?
little competition.
And this was the pre-test. So we were okay, but nobody was great.
No, you could tell it's the first of the year, and you're like, oh, we're just getting back into this thing.
But through the course of this month, we'll be working out and trying to see if we can get those numbers up. But more importantly,
Yes.
is what we did with the strong dads today.
Yeah.
Let's tell them what we did.
Every Saturday when we come into our St. Leon office, we'll do a workout like Merle was saying, but then also after that, we'll do a Bible study. And so we had this idea, there's some really smart guys who have some awesome wisdom to share. Like, why don't we just throw some microphones in front of them, do the same Bible study we do normally, and then let's see what comes out of it. So that's what we did today.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of really good things that you guys are going to want to dive into, going to want to listen to, and let's just see what happens.
Lots of different perspective.
Yeah.
I think it's important that you don't feel like you're on an island, that you see other guys going, oh, I struggle with that too. So, guys, check out this week's Strong Dads. I think there might even be a part 2, Andy.
I think so.
Because the conversation just kept rolling.
It was so good, we got to keep it going.
Yeah, so, all right, guys, tune in. Show's coming up right now. Are you hungry for some fantastic food and a great atmosphere? Then head over to the Hebron Grill. Distinctively Southern and soulfully unique, the Hebron Grill has something for everyone. It's the perfect spot for family dinners, a quick lunch, or catching up with friends. We want to send a huge thank you to the Hebron Grill for being a sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast and for their incredible support in helping us empower dads everywhere. So the next time you're looking for a great meal, remember the Hebron Grill. Find them online or stop by today. That's the Hebron Grill. Great food and great community.
Welcome back to Strong Dads. Again, we've got something new for you, something different. We're up at our St. Leon exit. We're at our St. Leon office for our Saturday morning Strong Dads, where we get a 45-minute lift-in, and then we do a 45-minute Bible study. And, Merle and I were talking, why don't we got some really, really good stuff that's talked about in these mornings. And you guys have some awesome wisdom to share. And we thought, why don't we just throw a microphone between, do the same Bible study we're doing, and then just be able to share out your guys' thoughts and what the Lord has put on your heart for everybody to hear. And so we did that. We're just going through our Bible study at the beginning of the year, January 3rd, and then we're just sharing this out with everybody once we get going. So I know our content at Rock Solid Families and Strong Dads is going to be a lot about renewal. Beginning of the year, everybody's got New Year's resolutions, things like that. I thought I'd start with something funny. Did anybody have a failed New Year's resolution, or like they started something like, I'm gung-ho about this, and then it just blew up and did not work out at all? Anybody want to share anything that might be funny or a failed New Year's resolution in the past?
No, I mean, my normal ones are exercise. I get caught up in exercise, and I'm gung-ho. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to run or do a marathon or a race or something, and it doesn't typically last very long. So I have a couple times signed up for something, and that does help a little bit because that makes me keep going, but otherwise it usually falls off pretty quick.
The worst with exercise, it's so cold. You're like, I'm going to go run, and it's negative 20 and a wind chill. Like I'm not doing this. And on a treadmill, it's rough. Anybody else New Year's resolution that failed?
Diet. I got a huge sweet tooth, and I just, every year it's like, I'm going to be better at this. I got the exercise. I like to work out, things like that. So just like trying to be better at that. I'm going to cut this out, and then, you get through 3 days of January, and then it's like, you know what? I earned something. So, and then, and then the whole year goes by, and then you start again. So
lucky for you only have a sweet tooth. I got a sweet mouth. Yeah. Everything in here it's not good. So, well, we'll jump on into. You want to share?
The rest of us are pure. We don't have hang-ups.
Or they don't do resolutions. Like, I'm not doing that. So we're jumping in. The questions that we're going to share, guys, are going to be renewal into this year, right? And the areas that we're sharing with, like the first question is, the area is what people see in our life and what God sees, and what secret struggle are we dealing with that we can try to renew in 2026. And so every question that we're asking, the thought and idea is going into 2026 in this specific area, how can it be renewed for Christ? All right, so does anybody have something that they struggle with?
Aaron's handed me the mic. Like he just knows I have something.
Hey, you open it up, Zach.
It's because he's in other groups with me too, so he knows. This guy's a mess. So Zach Strobel, longtime Strong Dads member on the board of Rock Solid Families. Happy to serve with these guys. But my perhaps not so secret is anger. I've struggled with that for years. There are people in my family who've struggled with that as well. But for me, what's interesting is like at work, a lot of people get surprised if they see me get fired up about something, and they're like, "Whoa, I've never seen you actually show that kind of emotion." And so, but at home, like people, my family see me angry plenty of times, and it's not that anger in and of itself is a sin. So the verse in the Bible is, in your anger, do not sin. Doesn't mean don't get angry at all, because you can use anger for good. But the idea behind it for me is, not just thinking first, right? Like calming down, thinking first, letting myself cool off before I say something or do something that could be emotionally damaging to my kids, my wife, people who I actually care about, or people who maybe I don't care about, but or who I should care about more. But that's one of my struggles for sure, and that's been a long time thing for me, and I definitely want to get a lot better about that this year.
That's good. I think that takes some intentionality. You know what I mean? To realize that, hold on, let me pause for a second before I fly off the cuff, or whatever it is that causes you to get angry. That takes some intentionality. So thank you for sharing that, Zach. Appreciate that.
I would say a struggle that I have is praying. I mean, I do pray a lot, but I find myself in this copy and paste every day. It's kind of the same prayer, kind of boring in a lot of ways, maybe just about myself or my family. I started reading a book. It's called Dangerous Prayers, and it really opened my mind to that. Need to be more bold and loud with those, need to be more intentional with my praying, and just be better at that, and just kind of realize, we're led for, a life of faith and not a life of comfort.
I'm trying to see if I can look this up very quickly. There is, I don't know if this is it's not going to pop up. There's liturgy is like a repetitious behavior that you would do. And the idea for liturgy is like you see a lot of people in the Catholic Church, they'll do a lot of the same repetitious behaviors. And the idea for that is that over time, those behaviors would draw me in closer Christ-likeness. And so there's this battle between, am I doing these patterns and behaviors that I don't always want to do, but I'm hoping that by doing them over and over again, it draws me into more Christ-like? Or, as you said, in the other way, like I'm just doing this because check a box, I'm done. I prayed today, good for me, right? And so there's that battle of like, I'm going to walk daily. I don't always want to read the Bible. I don't, but I do it. Why? Because I know that it brings me closer to Him. And there's going to be change in that hopefully will, be better for everybody else around me. I can love better. I can have more joy, peace, patience, whatever you want to say. And so, I hear that battle that I struggle with is, where is it drawing me closer to Him, or am I checking the box? Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah, I would say for me, I think, you talked about praying and being done for the day. I think of that sometimes for me as like being a servant. I oftentimes get caught up praying for people, telling people I'll pray for them, and I do pray for them, but I don't do anything else. I don't like go that extra mile, and I don't reach out, and I don't, I see other people that are reaching out, they're making meals, or they're, mowing grass, or they're doing things for people, right? And I think I often pray for people, but I don't take that extra step to really show somebody that like I care, right?
Yeah, is that because busyness in your own life that you're like, I'll pray for you, but I've got my own kids, I got my own wife, I got my own. Is that part of it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm cognizant of it, right? I think about it. I'm like, I should do more. Like, I should do more things, but like I don't, And it's, I mean, some of it certainly is busy. I mean, with kids and everything else, I mean, there's a lot going on, right? But yeah.
That's good. Thanks for sharing that, Josh. Did you have something, Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything that I'm hearing makes me think of diligence and like the New Year's resolutions, the anger, praying, everyone. On one hand, you want to give yourself grace because, well, we're jars of clay. I mean, not too high on the totem pole there.
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, we're made in His image, and if you follow Him, you're His adopted child. I used to struggle with anger.
Yeah, closer to your mouth. Yeah.
I used to struggle with anger after I got baptized. I thought all these other things would fall off that I saw fall off other people, like they quit smoking, they quit this, that, and the other, and I'm like, none of that happened. I'm still smoking. But man, my anger went away. That spirit, and I was like, not to say I still didn't get angry. I got angry at the right times over the right things appropriately.
Yeah.
More than not. And it wasn't overnight. And the diligence thing, I read in the Bible multiple times to be diligent. I'm like, no kidding, the intentionality. I think that's why so many of us fail on New Year's resolutions. We are initially diligent, but we rely upon ourselves.
Yeah. Our own strength. Yeah.
Not on the Holy Spirit to guide us. And more than not, we're a bunch of doofuses, not diligent.
Yeah.
And I diligently seek the Lord and follow Him imperfectly.
That's good. That's good. We had a leadership conference when I was at school that I went to, and the last day, it was like a 3-day thing, and the last day, the entire day was charged at you were going to make a phrase, right? And so we had different things to it, but basically at the end of it, you got like a coffee mug, right? And you were going to go put the phrase on the coffee mug, that way on your desk, full of pencils, whatever, as a teacher, you'd have that phrase. And so while working backwards, the intentionality, I think, is huge. I think being intentional with your time, your money, and everything. Your thoughts. So like I had the phrase that I come up with, which I think would be really cool. Like I thought it was a really good exercise. And so like, what is it that the first thing people see is, when they come up to your desk and sit in front of you, they're looking at something. Will that catch their eye? Mine was like, act intentionally, love honestly. Will I be able to do those two things? And so, some exercise, like we're finishing wrapping up the first question in this for us, what are we taking away from in the 2026 that we're going to renew for Christ within our relationship with Him? What people see and what Christ sees. Will that be the same? All right. And so for us and anybody watching and listening, for you guys, how are you taking this away? Like, what can I do to renew something for Christ this year in my relationship with Him?
You made me think of AIDS. Being a simple pea-brain jar of clay that I am, AIDS. On my phone, on the cover, I've got a Bible verse. Mm-hmm. It's the first thing I see, because we all go to our phones first thing. Yeah. But I also go to a second aid, which is my Bible app, and I have a verse of the day. So, and I don't just read that. Yeah. I've been intentional. I did used to just read that because we're always go, go, go. Yeah. And take a little bit more time. Read the verse before and after so I can get context. A lot of times I'll keep going, then meditate on that through the day. I'll pop it back if I forget what it was later in the day. On my phone for my alarm, go to work for God. Yeah. Just little aids and reminders, and I find that what you're saying, yeah. Put those up. I put a cross on my big rig. I wear a cross. Why? For them? No, for me. Remember.
Yeah. That's good. Hey, thanks for sharing that. Second question that we have. Go ahead.
So, I guess where I would say I struggle is, and everyone's touched on kind of everything that I struggle with. So, like, discipline is kind of where I struggle the most. I lack the discipline to maintain the diet or to maintain the exercise or to daily read the Bible. Even though that's all what I plan to do, I don't always follow through with it. I'm too busy. I wake up late. Whatever the reason, there's always a good reason, and then I don't follow through. And then that, so I don't become as healthy as I want. I don't grow as close to Christ as I want. And so everything everyone said, being angry, all those things that everyone here has mentioned are struggles. And I think it ultimately comes down to, relying on God to give me the discipline to follow through with those commitments so that I can be a better father and I'm going to be a grandfather, and so I want to be a good, strong granddad in the future. So I'm going to use this year to really, really focus, and rely on you guys to really focus and act intentionally with the discipline that I need to overcome these struggles.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Like this group of men that meet, we don't just meet on Saturday mornings. There's a group thread, there's a Facebook page, there's a lot of different ways we'll connect and get together outside of just Saturday mornings for what you said, Aaron. I struggle with this. Can you guys help me out? Like, I need help. And, you look in the Bible, Christ never tells us to go alone. Go back in Genesis. He created Adam. Not good enough. He needs somebody else with him. Hey, I want you to go spread the gospel. Go 2 by 2, right? And everything, we are not meant to do this alone. And so if you guys are listening or watching and you need a group of men to help you in your walk, Saturday mornings, come connect with us. Come join us. Look us up on Facebook, whatever the case is. This is an open group that would love to help you guys in your walk with Christ.
Yeah, we're called to encourage and to walk with one another and bear each other's burdens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so one of the struggles I think that I've had is my judgment on others. I know all of the speck in the plank, right, in the eye, but it's really difficult at times for me to see somebody behaving in a way that I don't think is acceptable and to not discard them, right? Like, the guy's an idiot. The guy's, and so I quickly cast judgment without knowing why they're even doing that behavior. And I mean, I've been a trained counselor for my life. I'm probably better at it, but I'm still like, it is my deal. When I'm in my office and I'm working with somebody, I keep the judgment down. But if I'm out driving and you cut me off, I go back to my old self. And so that thing that I don't know that people always see in me is just that, man, casting that judgment without being aware of how I'm actually projecting is something that continues to be a struggle.
That's good.
Yeah.
So to keep this pace going along, the second question is going to go with our marriage. All right? And so what we're doing within the heart of the home, where have we been selfish or emotionally absent lately? And emotionally absent can be like, I'm kind of there, but I'm more at work. I'm more with my friends. I'm more on my hobbies, whatever the case is. And what is one way you can be more selfless or present with your wife? And so we're coming into this 26 year and renewing that. What does that look like for you guys?
Put down the phone.
Okay. In what way? Like, you can work, you're talking to other people?
Just at home, anything to do, because I mean, that thing's a supercomputer. You can be distracted 101 different ways.
Yeah. Just looking over on spending time on social media or whatever the case is too. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Putting the phone down.
I would say emotionally absent with feelings, like something that's a big deal to her. I could hear that and just maybe brush it off, or why are you worried about that? That's not that big of a deal, and maybe shut down a conversation that should happen and needs to happen. So just being more intentional with that, because I feel like you can hear something and you got so many other things going through your mind, and then you hear something that's a big deal to her, and I should be more intentional and take the time to really process that and talk to her about that. But then you can just, like you said, feel like you're too busy, brush it off, and, oh, that's not a big deal to me. So that's something I can definitely need to work on and be better at.
or even remembering that conversation when something else comes up similar. I've struggled with that. Like, I hear you, I'm sorry you're going through this, and then like it happens again and I totally forget. That's a really good point there, Zach. Zach, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think mine is with kids. I mean, just putting so much emphasis on my kids and doing everything for them and with them, and which means I'm not doing it with my wife, right? And so I think that is one of the big things that I need to change this year, is to put more emphasis on her.
Well, is there something tangible that could look like? You know what I mean? For you, like it's an easy, very said, like it's a broad way, like I'm going to put more emphasis on you over our kids. What does that look like in like a day-to-day thing for your home? And I'm trying to see what other people who are listening to this, like, that's a great one, Josh. And what does it look like?
That's a great one. What's the follow-up? No, I mean, I think just being more specific on, times and dates and, things that, we want to do as a couple, and taking that time out, like actually specifically taking time for us, rather than, like I said, I mean, it's really, really easy to get caught up running your kids around, coaching their sports, taking them to places and just, saying, hey, we don't have time to do these things, right? And so I think, that's something we've even talked about. Brittany and I have even talked about that, right? And it's trying to make sure that, we're taking more dates and doing some more of those type of things.
That's really good. When I went through premarital counseling, the guy, he said, I walk past my kids when I come home from work, and I go and I kiss my wife first. And I was like, isn't that kind of mean when you got a 3-year-old? Daddy, right up to your arms, you're like, stiff arm. No, I'm seeing my wife first. Not to that degree, but he said, who was here before the kids? My wife. Who will be when the kids move out? I hope they move out at some point, right? Mm-hmm. My wife. And so what he's saying, and I've seen this firsthand, the struggle of like, okay, I love you. I know you need a lot of my time, but I also need to continue to date my wife who I'm married to. And that was something my wife and I, we just went on for the first time in our 10 years, vacation alone. For our 10th anniversary. And so we were like, and she joked, she's like, I forgot how much I liked you. When we came back, like, oh, then maybe we need to go on some more of these. So we struggle with the same thing.
I would say dismissiveness. Not only do I not give my wife the time, or it'll be in one ear and out the other, but literally dismiss her level of need or emotion. Like, oh yeah. And then really the attitude that I have is, that's not a big deal. You should be more like me, right? And so that dismissiveness on my part is something that I've been burnt by that, right? And you're like, hang on, I'm a person too, so trying to not just listen, but not dismiss or belittle what it is that she's struggling with. And again, you have to do that well, right? Like, not everything has to be a storm or hurricane. Mm-hmm. But when your wife, especially somebody you say you trust, is bringing an issue to you, for you quickly to dismiss it, oh, that's not a big deal, I think you're overthinking that, is one of those things where you're like, well, that's your opinion. That's where you're coming from. So I've had to struggle with, just keep your mouth shut, and listen and show her that you're listening, right?
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people too say when that is not happening and the dismissiveness is prevalent, am I even seen? Am I known? Like, am I valued? Like, you're oh yeah, I hear you, but I got my stuff I got to do. And we got to go take the kids to their sports and all these other things put up. And she's sitting here like, hey, I need some help here. I'm struggling with this. No, I get you. You're good. You're an adult. Go figure it out. And so then they're like, what rank am I even in this relationship? I've seen that a lot, so that's a really good point.
One of the things I learned a long time ago, I didn't understand my wife or women in general.
You understand them now?
No.
Share the secret, please.
No.
Okay.
However, I learned to be understanding. And I'm just riding off the coattails of what Hutch is saying, and that was, it's like, all right, I don't get it. What's the big deal? Okay, you don't get it. Doesn't matter it's not about you. it's a big deal to her. So just go from there.
Man, you guys keep handing me mics.
You're sitting all quiet.
You guys brought up a lot of great points. So we have, 2 younger kids, and so it is really easy to get caught up in like, what do the kids need, get into a routine, get the kids to bed, like, and then everyone's just kind of wants their own time. So I'd say for me, a big one is patience. I feel like there's certain things where it's like little stuff, like this little fight about XYZ, and it's like, just drop it, Zach. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's that kind of stuff where I just need to let those things go, because in the grand scheme of things, they don't really matter. I mean, it's long-term wise, like, who cares? And so I need to get better at just letting the little imperfections go and just being more focused on being present and just acknowledging that, this is a very good time of our lives. Like, our kids are 5 and 8, and it's a very fun time right now. So I just need to like just focus more on that this is going to go by really quickly, instead of like getting caught up in like little imperfections here and there.
Great. Guys, we've had some really good conversation. We're going to pause right now, and we're going to go to a commercial break and thank one of our sponsors.
Are you dreaming of a stunning landscape or a refreshed living space? Look no further than Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop. Located just outside of Bright, Indiana, Casey's specializes in transforming the outside of your home with expert landscaping services. They'll also help you beautify the inside with unique finds from their amazing gift shop. We want to send a huge thank you to Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop for being a fantastic sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Their support helps us continue to uplift and inspire dads in our community. For all your landscaping dreams and eye-catching home accents, visit Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop. That's Casey's, making your home beautiful inside and out.
So all of you hit on very good points, and I agree with everything. Putting the phone down, being dismissive, not appreciating that the issue is important to her, trying to solve the problem when that's not always. Sometimes she just wants to be heard. But I would say where I really need to focus, and it segues into the next question, is being the spiritual leader. Even though my kids are out of the home, being a spiritual leader in the home and trying to be more intentional with praying together, or doing devotional, or those things, because I think that could really grow a relationship. And I always think about it and talk about it and buy a devotional book, but following through with that hasn't happened. And I think in addition to everything that everyone else said, that's an area where I can really step up to be a better husband.
That's really good. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Aaron. Yeah, we're going to segue that right into the next question. The next question kind of goes along staying, within our homes, fatherhood, right? When your children look at your life right now, do they see a man who's too busy for them, or a man who reflects the patience of the Heavenly Father? Talk about patience there, Zach. What is the biggest hurdle preventing you from being the primary spiritual leader in your children's lives?
I'll start with the idea of if you're going to be a leader, you should look behind you and see who's following. A lot of times we're leading, and we think we're leading because we're the man. It's our house. We have the job, that kind of thing. But if your family is not really listening to you, if your wife is not in tune with you, then you're really on your own little island. You're just fooling yourself. And good leaders have to look back and check and see, is the herd in line, or are they fraying out? And especially teenagers, some of you guys who are not your preteen years, your kids, and this is a healthy thing, by the way, at some point in time, they're going to start to want to lead their own life, right? Because you're going to become stupid, right? That's a teenage mind. And that's not a bad thing. They're trying to think on their own. They're starting to break their own ice. But that's going to be a whole lot less if we can have our actions and our words match so that we're a good model. And man, that's hard, because I can preach a great word, but I don't always teach a great word.
That's good.
And so it's just always been a struggle to say, what are my kids really seeing? I gave, with our older boys, when they got older, I asked them this question point blank: where did I drop the ball? Because in my mind, I don't drop the ball, right? Like I'm the perfect dad.
Yeah.
But I just asked them, when they were in their early 20s or so, when they were ready for that kind of conversation, and you have to give them permission to actually say, well, Dad, to be honest, and you drop the ball. Like sometimes I put too much focus on whether they were being good, right? Like I had really good kids, and sometimes I was on their case about stupid stuff. And when they bring it back and they're 25 and they said, Dad, you were over the top with that. And I'm like, you're right. Like that was me being afraid to make a mistake or something. And so I was overreacting. So I think just that whole idea of being a good role model, but actually the teacher and, the example is a challenge.
Yeah, that sparks to mind. You'd asked the first question about idols for me, and I think the kids are a reflection of you and your parents. And so, but I've taken that a step too far, where I'm almost like, what are they doing that's going to reflect, what my wife and I have taught them? And so, like, I'm hyper focused and fixated on what they're saying, what they're doing. And they're their own human being. They're their own kids. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. And so I think part of that is like my kids are going to say some dumb things and do some dumb things, right? They may know better. They may accidentally do it, but they're kids. And so I think that brings up a point of, like, for me, my spiritual leader of the home, do I have the patience of a heavenly Father? Like, how often do we screw up? What's the verse? Like, as a dog goes back to its vomit, so a man goes back to its own sin. Like, so am I going to, like, yeah, they're going to mess up. They're going to do the same thing again. I've done it before. Why am I so hard on my kids? That's a really good point there, Brian.
I would say with that question, just lack of knowledge. So you pray with your wife, you put God first, you go to church, but then you go home and it's like, okay, what does that look like? And I feel like this group has helped me so much with that, just being on the younger end of a husband and father, don't have as much life experience as everybody in here, but just hearing these experiences and different seasons with people's kids, and this came up and we tried this but it didn't work, so we handled it this way. So I think that's what's so great about this group, even just being on the younger end, just what a huge abundance of knowledge that's just being poured into me every week to help me in our journey.
You made 40 look great, by the way.
Thanks for that, Jesse. That's so good.
Yeah, I think one of the things we all mess up, right, in parenting and a lot of different situations, and I think one of the things that I try to be really cognizant about is telling my kids that and saying, hey, I didn't handle that situation right, or I shouldn't have got upset or angry about that. Like, we should have talked through it and tried to work through it better, because I catch myself doing that, right? We're not perfect people. We try really hard to be as good. And Merle, you were talking about, like, we preach to our kids and everything all the time, but at the same time, like, then we don't always do things the same way that we just preach to them, right? And so I think just making sure that, like, I try to be thoughtful of that and say, hey, I didn't handle that right. Like, I didn't do that. I could have handled it differently, and try to make sure that they understand that I know that I'm not handling every situation right.
That's a really good thing to teach your kids, is that humility of like, I'm not perfect. I'm going to show you in front of other people how this can look to apologize and to say that. So that's a really good tool you and your wife are giving your kids. That's awesome, Josh.
Yeah, to put down your pride like that.
Yeah.
Oh, to put down your pride like that.
Yeah.
I'll go next. So something for me that I'm working on and continue to work on is what's that balance between let them be kids and discipline, because at some point, like, I don't want to get caught in the reflection of me, but at the same time, like, they kind of are at this age, where it's like, if I'm not disciplining my kid, I'm not doing a good job. So, Annie and I were talking, we were watching our boys, and we had a get together, and there was a bunch of boys that were rowdy. And we kind of knew coming in, like, hey, this is a rowdy group. Like, we really just should have got out the wrestling mats, Andy, and let them go after it.
Get some masks on there.
They would have been all about that. But and we both were, Andy and I were both kind of interjecting, like, hey, quit jumping on the couch. It's not your couch, and things like that. And so there, to some degree, it's like, yeah, we got to stop them from, messing someone's stuff up, and just how do you behave in public. But at the same time, like, how do you also just let them be kids? And something that was big for me this year was reading The Anxious Generation. And I know, Hutch, you've talked about that, and Andy, you're on that as well. But just letting kids play, because they're over monitored, especially with all the smartphones and all kind of stuff, and that's what's causing a lot of this anxiety on top of the social media and stuff like that, which our kids are way too little for that. But it's just let them go play, let them figure things out, let them solve problems on their own. But at the same time, there is going to be an intervention. So I'm constantly kind of torn between that balance and fighting between those two things.
That's such a good thing. If you've not read that or listened to that book, it talks about the conflict resolution kids figure out when they're in those situations. They're on the playground. How do you know who's on what team? You know what I mean? Like, I remember all the time thinking about, like, well, if we did this, it would be unfair. We would just dominate. That wouldn't be fun. Or if you get into a fight, and boys do that, we'll fist fight, come back 5 minutes later, you good? Yeah, I'm good, right? And so how did they get to figure that out without us relying on us telling them what to do? So that's a really good point. And I would encourage anybody who's not read or listened to The Anxious Generation. It is a really good read about the rewiring of our young kids' mind and the generation. It's phenomenal. So last thing I want to interject too with before you go, Aaron, spiritual leader, like I've struggled with this balance of, in the Bible it talks about in your closet, in your secret place where I'm praying. Like, don't pray like the Pharisees, where I'm long-winded and look at me and look how well I can pray. I want to pray in my closet. But there's also a time when my kids are at this age, they're not getting in devotions. A little bit they are, but not to the degree that I would think. And I think part of that is, am I showing them that I'm in the Word? Am I showing them that I'm praying? Are they coming downstairs and seeing me? Like, I think that's where I struggle too, is like, I do it in my own realm, but am I doing it for them to see, like, oh, this is what it looks like. Dad's down there and his Bible's open. He's getting into it and he's on his knees praying. And so talk about spiritual leader in my home. Am I showing them what am I doing? Or is it, so I'm struggling with that balance, what it looks like, because Millie's 3. She's not getting into the Word yet. Oak and KJ are just now dabbling into what that looks like. So,
I would say that I'm blessed. My children and their wives are all believers and baptized and regularly attend church. That said, I want my children to be better spiritual leaders than I was. So I'm trying to figure out how I can lead in that direction. Obviously, when your kids are in their 20s, you don't have the control that you have. And it's really not about control. That's what I learned the hard way. I tried to control everything about my children growing up, and then eventually that God humbled me, and that will backfire. But just how can I lead them so they don't, that's what parents always want. We don't want the kids to make the same mistakes we do. So that's where I struggle and where I want to figure out a way to make certain that they don't repeat their father's mistakes.
We probably have time for one more question, depending on the time that it takes. And so we'll do one more question, wrap it up with you guys who are listening and watching. But the last question is going to be kind of on our work, our occupation. And again, going back to the theme of renewal and what that looks like for 2026, work as worship. And do you view your primary job as a paycheck? It's a means to an end. And as a source of stress, or as a mission field. And if you guys didn't get a chance to listen to the latest podcast, Jeff Durley did an awesome job of kind of diving through that a little bit. But how can you make changes to improve your mission as work and as work as worship?
It's all the above. It's all the above. I don't have to worry about HR or any of that like a lot of people. I got a big cross on me, my truck, my own boss. I usually wear Jesus Christ on shirts and whatnot. And one thing that I learned out there, I was too focused on planting the seed or watering the seed, and I overlooked that we're supposed to plow.
What do you mean by that, plow?
Well, like Frank said in your one podcast, I really loved that. It was really great. It's like, I'll read them some moral stories, and then I'll sprinkle in a little bit of God. And then I work your way up. Plus, they're also hopefully seeing Jesus in me by how I act, what I say, what I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though I'm not PC.
Yeah. And I say because I've heard people talk about, I throw seeds, I scatter seeds. I'm not worried if the seeds go on rocky soil or if they go on fertile soil or if my job is a seed thrower and the Holy Spirit waters those seeds. And so I've heard that, a lot of people. I've not heard of the plow. I do like that idea, and I think that takes a relationship, though. The seed can be a start, or the cross on your truck, or your shirt, like, hey, what you got that shirt for? Can be an open into a relationship where then I think, because if you're plowing somebody else's field, they're going to go yell at you, get off your trespassing.
I'm plowing God's field.
Yes, yeah, but I mean, you got to take a relationship with somebody in order to plow that field.
I see, I just saw it as asking innocent questions when you're plowing and not sprinkling any of the seeds or the water, just preparing the way to put that seed in or to water it.
Yeah, okay. I like that analogy. It's different. Thanks for sharing that. And I'll talk about with worship. This is the first time that I've worked in, I was a teacher for 10 years. Before that, I'd done many different jobs. This is the first time that the job that I'm in is kind of in ministry. People kind of know coming into the door that Rock Solid Family is a faith-based ministry. They know that. And so it's easy for me. I'm going to pray after the session. That's easy. They knew that coming in. And so, for me, it looks different. How do I use work as worship? When I already have work that's tied in with the relationship with Jesus, I think I'm still figuring that out. I think I'm still trying to dive into what that looks like, because I'm assuming you're coming into a faith-based building, you kind of know we're about Jesus here, right? Versus how can I grow and expand. And so for this renewal, for me, I think it's still a learning process, and I'm not doing it well. I know this. I don't know if you do anything well the first 6 months you do something. You're still learning. I'm tripping over things all the time. But it's, okay, how do I make this more centered on you, Christ, and how you're working through me to help people? I'm not the lifeline. Rock Solid Families isn't the lifeline. Jesus is. We're just the ones helping. And so for me, how does that look? I'm exploring and learning. I know I'm not there yet.
I think, work and worship, we can really get bogged down by our work, how much time we spend on it and all of that. But worship, I think of worship as praise and thanks and that kind of thing. And we could expand on the whole worship meaning. But I think the thing I have to always be aware of is how much am I giving praise and thanks for the work that I get to do. I get to do this work.
Oh, yeah.
I get to. I don't have to. And so when I have to go to work, you can tell. But when I get to go to work, I'm thankful for the idea. And it doesn't mean you always like every part of your job.
Yep.
But the idea that you have a thanks and an eagerness to go please God. And how do I please God? Through how I'm going to serve the people. Yeah. And, you know, I have found that as I got more tired or people would wear me down, I had to go to work. And that was time for, you know, you got to readjust your sails because, everybody just gets beat down a bit. So I get to go to work versus I have to.
That's a really good mindset change. I was reading Stand Firm and Act Like Men, and they were talking about in Genesis, the will to work is set at the beginning of time. Adam and Eve, and like, go be fruitful, multiply, and take rule and dominion over the world and cultivate it. And like that's part of it ingrained into us as human beings, as men, to work. And so I love that point of view. Josh, you were gonna.
Yeah, no, I was just, you know, I think a lot about career, right? I'm somebody that, you know, been a finance leader, sales director, you know, different roles like that. But I think the entire time I've been in those roles, I've also thought it, like, is this what God wants me to be doing? You know, is this like, can I fulfill the mission? You guys have been talking about missions, and it's like, can I do that being a finance guy or being a salesperson, right? And it's, you know, I think that it's taken me a lot of time to realize that, you know, I don't necessarily have to, you know, I don't have to have a job in ministry or somewhere else to go, you know, have an impact on people's lives. And so I probably don't take it as far as I should. I've been more cognizant about making sure that people know that, like, I'm praying for them, or, you know, like trying to be more outward with those type of thoughts and things. But, you know, I do think that you have an opportunity in any career to make an impact on people's lives, right? You don't have to be, you know, you don't have to work in a church or work for a nonprofit, or you don't have to do those things to make an impact on people's lives and, like, help fulfill a mission. So.
It's really good. There's a book, Could Jesus Have Been a CPA? I met the author, Terry Greer. Phenomenal book. It's just storytelling. It's super easy to read, but he talks about that. And when he found Christ, he's like, do I have to move to Africa now? Because that's what you do. And so he, like, no, I called you to be a CPA. You're going to lead people to Jesus as a CPA. And he's like, well, how does this look? And it was a phenomenal book, easy read. So.
Good thing the book's not called Could Jesus Be a Politician? I'll cut that out if I have to, right?
No, those are good points, because especially like what Josh said, like, church isn't a building. It's, you know, it's being out, groups like this, kind of, you know, you go out in your job, things like that. My particular job, I get to meet so many different types of people, come in contact with so many people, that just be the light, spread the seed, spread the good news of Jesus. And I am intentional with that, but like anything, there's always room for improvement to be more intentional with that. And that's something that I am going to do, and be more intentional with that this year and just moving forward.
That's really good, Jesse. Thanks.
Yeah, so I've always really thought about this quite a bit. And it's, you know, before I started my career, I was actually in Linda and Merle's small group, young adult small group, and I was kind of transitioning into different careers, and I had a note in my Bible to pray about, like, these different career options. And so for the career I'm in now, I actually had that note in my Bible, and I took a part-time job just to get started because it was something I really wanted to do. I ended up working multiple part-time jobs, which led to a promotion, which led to another promotion, and so on and so forth. But you know, I work in higher education at a public university, and there's a lot of freedom there. And what people don't realize is they see, like, the headlines of, you know, these different things that happen at public universities, but you have a lot. You're protected by freedom of speech, and that's something that has enabled me to say, hey, this is who I am. You know, I'm a Christian. Like, I introduce myself to my classes, you know, and tell them that. And a lot of other students who are Christians will come up to me and talk to me about that afterwards. And when everything happened with Charlie Kirk, that really got to me, because, you know, I'm seeing on our campus there was people out there speaking publicly in the weeks to come, and there's police officers up on the roofs making sure something like that doesn't happen again. So, you see a lot of interesting things, and you see all these different walks of life coming to public places in the work I'm in. And so you hear it all. But what I've learned is just like, be respectful of other people's opinions, and just let them talk and hear them out, and then share hey, this is why I believe, and this is why I believe it. So that's always been really important for me. And I know I've been to virtual conferences where they talk about worship at work and how you are protected with freedom of speech, and how you can take approaches where you are protected. So those have always been things that I've been very aware of. I've always felt like God wants me there, and I don't exactly know why, but I think there's a reason behind it.
Absolutely. And I think that questioning, that curious, not judgmental mindset is huge to, you're a Christian, you probably automatically think that what I'm doing is wrong, and you're not going to talk to me, and they have all these thoughts going in, but to have that, what makes you think that? And have these questions that you can ask and dive in will open up doors that would probably look like they'd be shut from the inside. That's a really good way to go about it.
I would say, obviously my job is a paycheck, but if I won the lotto, I wouldn't quit my job. But as a public official, there are limitations. I can't preach to people I'm not protected by freedom of speech. I'm bound by the canons of judicial conduct. So what I try to do is be a light in my behavior and how I treat my employees and in my decisions. And I try to make my decisions important. A lot of decisions are perfunctory, but the decisions that are important, a sentencing decision, a decision about custody, I try to make sure those decisions are discerned from God and look to Him to make certain that I'm looking to Him as I make those decisions, so that my decisions can reflect the will of God, and therefore help show people that the path to redemption is through Jesus. And that's what I've seen as a practical matter, as anecdotal matter, is that those who embrace faith are more successful at their recovery or whatever it is they're struggling with. And so as a matter of fact, I can look to that to help guide my decisions, and that's how I view that in my particular field.
Thank you for that. Thank you for standing on the firm foundation of Christ within your field as a public official, and for all of you guys in all of your different fields and everything that you guys do. Thank you. I really appreciate your guys' conversation, the depth and wisdom and knowledge that you guys got to share this morning. You spent time talking with us, and for you guys listening, we want to thank you. And before we wrap this up, any closing thoughts you want to share? I know, Jason, you were looking at something in the Word. Did you want to share anything, or anybody have any other thoughts as we wrap this up? There may or may not be a part 2. We've got some more questions we thought about getting into, and so guys, stay tuned. We want to thank you for listening, for watching, for sharing the show. We only get to do this because you guys are listening and watching. And Jeff thanked me yesterday. I got to meet with him during our latest show, and more people than he thought reached out to him, and he's like, there are a lot of people listening. There are a lot of people watching. So watching. So we thank you guys for that, and I'd be amiss if I didn't thank our sponsors, Casey's Outdoor Solution, Quality Auto Mart, and Hebron Grill. Without our sponsors being able to, give to the show, we wouldn't be able to do this. And so thank you guys, thank you listeners, thank you sponsors. And anything else before we get off here, guys?
I think we're good.
All right, you want to close us out then? Go out and be strong, guys.
Go out there and be a strong dad.
Yeah.
Is your car making a strange noise? Or maybe your golf cart needs a tune-up? Then you need to head to Quality Auto Mart. Quality Auto Mart isn't just about great auto repair and muffler service for your car. They're also your go-to experts for golf cart sales and repair. And we want to give a huge thank you to Quality Auto Mart for being a dedicated sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Their support helps us empower dads in our community and beyond. For all your car repair needs, muffler service, or anything golf cart related, trust the team at Quality Auto Mart. Visit them today and tell them the Strong Dads podcast sent you. That's Quality Auto Mart, located on Route 46 outside Batesville, Indiana. Call them at 812-934-2301.